We made it back from the Sydney Money Expo, and here's what happened. The weekend that's just passed saw the Sydney Money Expo happen at the Hurstville Entertainment Centre. So I made the trip up north on Thursday. So Friday is actually the setup day. So for those that are unaware, a Money Expo is an event which happens annually. So we do Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney and Perth each year. And this weekend was the Sydney leg of the tour, I guess you could say. So we had the event and it was at a new venue, which is always a bit challenging. So I'll talk about some of the challenges as well as some of the positives that came from the weekend. I also must apologize in advance. Each time I organize one of these Money Expos, I often say, I'll film all this footage and I'll be able to share it with you all. Almost every time I don't get around to it. I managed to get a little bit of footage this year, but as you'll see, it's predominantly behind the scenes footage. I think I filmed this on Friday during setup because the venue is quite nice. The Hurstville Entertainment Centre, I was not aware, also hosted the likes of AC/DC and Split Enz back in the day. There was even a big wrestling event there with Mick Foley. And for anyone that's interested in wrestling, that was Mankind. He was a pretty big deal back in the day. So there was a lot of history in the building, and I always like walking around these venues. Previously, we'd used the Sydney Town Hall, and similarly, I really enjoy just walking around the venue and exploring the areas that we're not actually hosting the event at, but I guess I'm just always a bit curious to see, what's in these back rooms. And this venue was quite interesting in the sense that behind that backstage area was all dressing rooms and things like that. So it was pretty cool to think that, back in the 70s, Angus Young was getting ready in that very same dressing room and performing on that stage. So yeah, very interesting. So setup day, it was wonderful to have both Keith and Aaron from Australian Specialty Coins. Once again, they do such a good job helping me out with these events. It is such a big job setting these events up because there are so many different, those little areas that you just don't think about, like setting up all of the power, positioning all of the tables. That's always a bit of a challenge, particularly working with a new venue. You can use a floor plan and do your best, but really until you get in the room and start seeing how these things look when you're positioning them, you don't actually know if it's going to work or not. So there were a couple of opportunities for improvement there. Now that I've been in the room, next year we have a much clearer idea of where things go and, how the crowd flow might be. That was another opportunity for improvement, really. The crowd on the first day, and it's always difficult when you're working with the general public because I have this assumption that everyone will just move in an orderly fashion and everything will be smooth. But understandably, when people get a bit excited and you have a large crowd of people trying to get from point A to point B, and there's a little bit of confusion as to where to go and what to do, there's a large crowd. So the front foyer area was very crowded on Saturday morning, and that's something that I take full responsibility for, and I apologize to anyone that had any issues or difficulty getting in and working out where to go. That coincides with the whole not fully understanding the layout of the venue and the space that I was working with. So in future, I will endeavor to have a clear map of where each institution is. That is Australia Post, and it was lovely to have the Australia Post there. And for those that are unaware, I used to work there. So it's always lovely to catch up with the lovely ladies from the philatelic department. So it was lovely to have them there, as well as the Royal Australian Mint, which understandably bring such a big crowd with both their retail setup and the coin swap. They're always really, really popular. So wonderful to have them there. But on the flip side of that, you then get every collector, even non-collectors coming down, wanting to see what all the excitement is about. But as I mentioned, moving forward, I'll endeavor to have that clearly laid out in advance so everyone can know which door they need to come in and where they're headed. So hopefully that's not a problem moving forward. All right, on to some of the positives. So as I mentioned earlier, it's wonderful always to have both Australia Post and the Royal Australian Mint attending these events. But on top of that, it's always such a great opportunity to catch up with all of the dealers that come along. What some people may not understand is that these events have dealers from all over the country. So we have the likes of Andrew Crellin from Sterling and Currency coming all the way over from Perth. We also had, the guys from Colonial Coins and Metals coming down from Brisbane. And it's just great to be able to wander around the room and catch up with all these friends, because it is actually quite a tight-knit community, and it's really nice to get to catch up with everyone in person. And on top of that, it's also really nice, and I said to a number of people, very reassuring when just general members of the public or collectors approach me and let me know that they watch these videos and let me know that they enjoy what I'm doing with this channel and with the business here. So it's really encouraging in that sense to know that collectors out there appreciate what I do, and not only with my business here and with the channel, but with the Money Expos. It's really rewarding to have, a smiling collector let me know that they've enjoyed their time at the Money Expo, and that makes it all worth it. It's really, really rewarding. And I must say, that's something that I look forward to at each of the Money Expos, getting to meet people in person and also put faces to names, because sometimes you exchange emails or you speak on the phone, but nothing quite compares to having an in-person catch-up. So to anyone that said hello, I really appreciate it, and it was lovely to meet you there. Oh, and before I forget, another highlight was on the Friday night, just after the setup for the show. I made the trip into the city and dropped into 2GB Studios for a chat with my very good friend John Stanley. This is a very interesting one. I've actually been doing interviews. This must be maybe my 10th interview with John, and we've been chatting periodically about coins, the greatest hobby in the world, since before I even had this shop. So quite some time, and he's been a really big supporter of what I do with both, my business and the Money Expos. So it's always really good to catch up in person as well. Like I say, you can't really beat that in-person interaction, and he's always so interested in what I've got to say and loves all the little tidbits that I share with his listeners. So it's always really exciting to get in there. A little daunting, if I'm honest. You arrive and there's all the studio stuff and all these professional people there, all the producers and that sort of thing. And then I just go in there and do what I do here, just chat about coins and have a good time. But it often seems to be well received. And again, it was lovely to have some of the people at the Money Expo let me know that that's how they found out about the event, is by listening to the radio. So it's a sign that people are listening, which is very, very encouraging. I think that just about sums it up. It was a really great weekend. There were many opportunities for improvement from my perspective. So I fully appreciate that there may be people in the comments that say, I was there and, you fell short on this aspect, or, I got in and didn't know where to go for this or that. Totally accept it. It's entirely my responsibility, something that I will endeavor to rectify in the future. But on the whole, I think a lot of collectors enjoyed themselves, and ultimately that's what it's all about. People, connecting with the greatest hobby in the world and getting to meet dealers of all sorts from all over the country and have a good time. And from my perspective, it was a very challenging weekend. It was very busy, but I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. So the next Money Expo will be in February in my hometown of Melbourne. So I'm looking forward to that. I need to get cracking on the planning. And that's it for now. If you ever want to come in and visit, we're here in store at Thompson's Coins headquarters. We're at Shop 8 in the Boronia Mall, which is located at 50 Dorset Square in Boronia. We're open Tuesday to Thursday, 10 till 4, and Saturdays, 10 till 3. So come on down for a visit if you enjoy coin collecting. Otherwise, please like the video, consider subscribing if you want to keep up to date with the latest coin news and all that sort of jazz. That's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.